Heart at the Hazbin Hotel, Chapter 3. Now, there's just a small time skip for this chapter. Nothing major. But let's see what happens. It might be a little interesting. Chapter 3. A Day Out Gone Bad. Heart's Point of View. 2 months had gone by since I signed myself in with the Happy Hotel. I can say that things were different, and I actually enjoyed it. Although for like a week straight when I first got here, after that fiasco with Alistair and Angel, I didn't leave my room. Angel did eventually stop by my room the next day after it happened and apologize for making me upset. But even so, I still was embarrassed and didn't want to face anyone. I had gone back to where I used to live and managed to get a few more things that I needed. My little TV, some more clothes, and a few of my other personal items. I could tell Lizzie was still there. Some food still in the fridge, clothes laid on the floor, and my sister didn't seem to keep it how I left it. Surprisingly, she didn't come looking for me yet. I figured she wouldn't. She didn't enjoy me much. I eventually got out of my room and hung out with everyone at the hotel. It was nice to make friends, even if no one wanted to admit it. Charlie said my rehabilitation was going well, though, and that I seemed to be well on track. I helped Vaggie and Nifty clean up the hotel, so we got along and helped each other out. Husk managed to teach me how to play blackjack, so I at least talked to him during that time. He was still an asshole, though. Angel and I got along for the most part. Then there was Alistair. I couldn't even face Alistair. My heart beat fast just thinking about him. Although I did take Vaggie's advice and tried not to deal with him at all. I didn't even really talk to him after that night in the kitchen. If anything, I let him say hello to me and I said hi, and that was it. I didn't try to look at him to get lost in his gaze again. It seemed like Alistair knew, though. He was almost like a cat. The more you ignored him, the more he seemed to come around. It became harder to avoid him. I started to go out more into town and run errands for Charlie just to get away. Even so, I felt like Alistair's eyes were always watching on me, no matter where I went. I managed to actually study Alistair, though. Even though I was avoiding him, I still watched him interact with others. I wanted to know how he worked. I'd never understand how he thinks, but maybe I can figure out his actions. What I discovered about Alistair was very interesting indeed. I found out that his touching was normal. He touched everyone the same way he was me. Besides him loving to cook, he also liked theater and enjoyed singing. I could tell that because I'd hear him humming through the halls, or when I would walk past his door I'd hear a record player with some old-time music playing. He made jokes, but they were so cheesy, but funny. It made me laugh nonetheless. Angel always tried to shut him up, though, and didn't seem to enjoy them. I always started to notice he always talked sweet to everyone, using those sweet nicknames to everyone and being a gentleman. I was a little saddened by that fact, because I actually wanted to feel special, but I tried to block those out of my head. I wasn't going to let the demon take control of my mind, nor my heart. Even though I'd hate to admit it, the radio demon seemed to have done something to me. I couldn't explain it. Even though I avoided him every day for the last 2 months, the man never seemed to leave my mind. What was the feeling? I wasn't sure. Did I have a crush? Oh, Lucifer, I couldn't. He'd never be the same towards me. It was a crazy thing to think. Stop it! I walked into the hotel after going out for dinner. I walked in the doors, but they slammed shut behind me. The hotel was dark. I couldn't see a thing. Then the fireplace lit up. I was shocked and jumped in surprise. I slowly walked towards the fireplace. I didn't know what was going on. My ears laid fat and my tail wrapped around my waist in fear. Charlie? My voice echoed through the lobby. Vaggie? I got no response. I kept slowly making my way towards the fireplace. I was becoming more afraid of what was going on. Angel? This isn't funny, you guys, I said. The fireplace then went out, and I was left in the dark again. I let out a slight scream. A few seconds went by before I heard something behind me. Static. My body froze. I looked over my shoulder and I saw a little old radio sitting on a table. It was making that static sound. I slowly walked over to it, but the static started to get louder. I covered my ears. I eventually got to the radio, reaching for the knob and turning it off. The static stopped, and I sighed a little. The sound was getting to my ears. It was horrible. Before I could even blink, the static came back, but not from the radio this time. It was coming from behind me. I stiffened again and slowly turned around. Then I saw them. Eyes in the darkness. Glowing eyes that looked like dials and sharp teeth. That only meant one person. Alistair. My breath quickened. I was scared more than ever now. Alistair? I whispered. Hello, my dear. His voice was deep, demonic, and threatening. He walked forward into the light, his mic cane in hand behind his back. Static surrounded his form. The world around him seemed to distort, and symbols floated around his area. Alistair, what's going on? I asked, my voice cracking from the fear. I started to have tears fall. Now, my dear, do not cry, Alistair said. He walked forward and grabbed my chin, but grabbed it roughly than he usually would. I noticed that his clawed fingers were longer than normal. It won't hurt. I'll make it fast. My eyes widened. What? What do you mean? My voice was shaky. All Alistair did was laugh. You'll die here. The static around him went around me and covered me. Alistair took his hand from my chin and grabbed my throat. I couldn't breathe now. Alistair! His mouth opened to show his sharp teeth more. His eyes glowed, and it was almost blinding. His antlers grew as well. The power he radiated was too much. The last thing I saw was the radio demon lifting his other hand and slashing towards me. The world seemed to slow then. My world went black. I woke up in my bed with a startle. A light sweat covered me. I buried my face in my hands. I had the dream again. It was the third time in a row. Why, though? Why did I keep having it? Was my mind telling me something? Was it the future? Did Alistair want to harm me? I shook my head. No, that wouldn't make sense. If he wanted to harm me, he would have done it when I first got to the hotel. Right? Unless it was part of his entertainment. He was just toying with me. I shook my head. I needed stuff to give Alistair my nightmare. I got up out of bed and did my normal routine. Went to the bathroom, got a shower, brushed my teeth, and got dressed. I put on my pants and then my long sleeve shirt with my vest and my coat. I put on my boots and made sure to grab my hotel key and put it in my pocket before heading out of my room. I grabbed the phone by my bed and put it in my pocket. Charlie convinced me to buy a phone to be in better contact with everybody if I needed it. I've never had one, but I understood how they worked. I mainly used it to see the news for the day or use it in emergencies. I made sure my hotel room was locked and walked down the hallway. I knew Alistair wasn't in his room that morning because every Friday he was down in the kitchen making breakfast. It was always French toast. I walked down to the lobby and saw everyone heading out of the kitchen. Alistair must have been done with breakfast. I couldn't stick around. I haven't really stuck around for food because of Alistair. Morning, everyone, I greeted. Morning, Charlie and Vaggie said. Husk just puffed and shoved food in his mouth and went to the bar. Angel wasn't down there yet. He sleeps in a lot from long nights. I couldn't see Alistair, though. I walked up to Charlie. Hi, Charlie. I'm heading out today. Is that all right? I asked. Charlie smiled. Of course. You think you can stop by the store on your way back? Yeah, I need a few things. I can do that, I saluted. Charlie laughed at me. I'll make you a list. Hold on. Well, I'm going to go sign out first before I forget, and then grab some food. I'll grab your list on the way out, I told her. She nodded and started to write down what she needed on a piece of paper. I walked over to the sign-out book and wrote my name and the time. I went to the kitchen and saw some of the French toast, all on one plate. I walked over, grabbed the piece, and took a bite. My heart warmed up at the taste. Delicious. Good morning, darling. I jumped in surprise. I knew who it was. Alistair. I turned around and saw the deer demon behind me. His smile was big as ever. His normal outfit he wore when he cooked, his rolled up sleeves and pulled back hair, almost made me choke on my food. I managed to swallow and try to control my heart from the sight of his handsome attire. At the same time, my nightmares from last night and the last few nights made me almost scared of him. Morning, Alistair. Sorry, I can't stick around. I have to go out and get some stuff for Charlie, so I have to eat and run. I took another piece and another bite of the other French toast and walked past him. Man, this is good, I whispered before I walked out of the kitchen. I went up to Charlie and she handed the list to me. Most of it is some cleaning supplies that we need to stock back up on. She pulled out some money from her pocket. This should be enough to cover it. I took the list and the money and put it on my inner pocket of my jacket. It was my safe spot when I always put the money. I'll make sure to be careful and be back in time before it gets dark. Or darker, I should say. See you all later. I waved bye to them. I saw in the corner of my eye was Alistair. He stood against the kitchen door with his arms crossed, and he just looked at me. I tried to ignore his stare and headed outside. I walked down the road, and it was actually a nice day. It was quiet, which was strange for a day in hell, but I wasn't going to question it. I wanted to hit the store on the way back, so I headed to the coffee shop I knew of not far away. It was a nice little place, but the owner was a little bit of a bitch. I liked tea, but coffee sounded good to me today. I got to the shop and sat down on a little table outside. I ordered my coffee with lots of French vanilla creamer. They brought out the coffee to me, I paid for it, and I sat back to enjoy the day. I took out my phone and looked at the news for today. It was just how I liked it. Then I felt it, like somebody was watching me. I lifted my head a moment and just casually looked around the area. I saw no one out of the ordinary that seemed to be looking at me. There was just one other person outside the coffee shop, and they had a newspaper covering their face. I just shrugged it off for now. I finished my coffee and just sat there a few minutes more while I finished the article I had up. I put my phone back in my pocket and got up and headed further into the city. I headed to the theater. I feel a play would be nice to me. I didn't care what was showing. I got there, bought a ticket, and headed inside. 3 hours I sat and enjoyed the play. It ended up being a romance. Made myself feel better, especially after my nightmare last night. When I left the theater, I decided it was time to head to the store and then back to the hotel. As I walked down the street to the store, I felt that presence again. That I was being followed. I started to walk a little faster. Eventually, I heard footsteps behind me. I tried to pay them no mind. I soon saw the store, but I didn't get to make it inside. My pursuer grabbed me from behind and dragged me into an alleyway close by. The person was strong and had big clawed hands from what I saw. They covered my mouth so I couldn't scream and had their arm around my waist to hold up against me. I could usually get out of a demon's grasp. I've been attacked before, but this one was different. Way stronger than any of the other ones I've dealt with. I tried to struggle, but they held me tighter. I then felt breath against my ear, followed by a long tongue licking it. "Give me all your money you have, or I'll fuck it out of you," the attacker demanded. I could tell it was a man. He was most likely a lizard demon, judging by his tongue. I shook my head, his head still covering my mouth. "You say you got no money then?" he hissed in disappointment. Again I shook my head. He chuckled. "Well then, looks like it's the hard way for you." He turned me around. I was correct to see a lizard demon. He was green and had orange stripes along his body. He wore a ripped tank top and ripped shorts. He punched me right in the face and then threw me to the ground. But I had no time to react as he kicked me hard in the back. I rolled in pain as air rushed out of me. I could feel that one of his claws cut my face as I felt blood run down my cheek. Then he managed to grab my left wing. "I'm going to ask again. Give me what you have and I'll let you go," he demanded again. "I said I don't have any money. That's the truth," I lied to him. "Oh yeah?" He reached down with his other hand and ripped my jacket where the pocket was on the inside. "You're a lying bitch. I smelled it on you. Now you get to pay up." He had a firm grip on my wing, and with his foot, he kicked it. I heard the snapping sound of my wing breaking, and the pain ran up my body. I let out a scream. It was the first time I experienced my wing being broken. The lizard demon then kicked me in the chest, making me lose my breath. "Now be a good dog, and let me do the rest to you." He grabbed my tail and yanked hard. I let out a yelp in pain. The demon laughed hysterically. He grabbed my jacket again and ripped it the rest of the way off of me. He started to rip parts of my shirt as well. Blood spilled as he had scratched me in the process. But then something made him stop. He looked frozen. A pink aura surrounded him. Soon a hole formed in the ground below him, and a few black, I guess you can call them tentacle-like things, shot out and grabbed the lizard demon so that he was spread eagle above the ground. "What the fuck? What did you do to me, you whore?" the lizard demon asked in anger. I sat up and put myself against the wall, lifting some of my clothes to cover the claw marks. My hands got covered in blood. I knew that power wasn't me. I'd never seen this power before. Who did it belong to? Soon I heard my ears perk up. The sound of radio static filled the air, and I looked to the end of the alleyway. It was then I saw the person round the corner and started to walk down the alleyway towards us. I know who it was just by his dark form. Alistair. His hand was glowing with the same pink aura, his mic staff in his other hand behind him. He had a more demonic smile than I've ever seen before. His eyes glowed bright. "Excuse me, young man, you seem to have harmed my friend here," Alistair said, very calm-like, gesturing me with his mic staff. "Yeah, and what's it to you, asshat?" The lizard demon spat. Considering the situation he was in, I wouldn't want to mess with Alistair, but he didn't seem to know who he was. All the radio demon did was laugh. "You see, when you hurt my friends..." He started to move his fingers, and the black tentacles seemed to start to pull at the lizard demon. He let out a grunt in pain, and then I heard a pop as one of his arms came out of his socket, and soon he screamed. "You get hurt by me in the worst way than you can imagine," Alistair finished in his deep, scary, static voice. Alistair flicked his hand, and the lizard demon went flying with the black tentacles threw him back to the end of the alleyway. He hit a big garbage can at the end and seemed to be knocked out. I heard him groan in pain. Alistair went back to normal, losing his devilish grin as he walked down and then looked down at me with a softer smile. He reached his hand out to me. "My dear, are you all right?" he asked in a soft voice. I took his hand and he helped me to my feet. I could be better. He broke my wing, though. I sighed as I looked over my shoulder at my wing. It hurt to even move it. It drooped a little. He ripped my clothes, too. Ripped my jacket to shreds. "Oh, my!" Alistair looked at my wing as well. "It seems we must get you back to the hotel immediately. I can mend that wing for you as well as your scratches," he told me, looking at my blood-stained shirt. I felt that hardness in my stomach. I was afraid to be alone with the man still. At the same time, though, he did just save my life, so I should give him that credit at least. I looked up at him and made sure to give him a small smile. I knew he would at least want to see that from me. Alistair chuckled lightly. I was correct. "I still get a smile from you." His eyelids slid down like he was in content. "My favorite." I saw the sight of my jacket. I sighed. It was my favorite. Then I remembered. The money Charlie gave me. I turned to head to the lizard demon, but Alistair held me still. I looked back at him. He held up his hand to show the money was safe between his fingers. "No need to threat. I have that right here. It's safe, but I'm afraid your little shopping trip will have to wait," Alistair pointed out. I nodded in agreement. Still holding my hand, Alice led me out of the alleyway and back to the sidewalk. I let out a little wince of pain as I walked. "Are you going to be all right walking?" Alistair asked. "No need to worry. I'll be okay. The hotel isn't far. I can deal with it," I told him. He nodded and we continued the walk. I noticed that the whole way, Alistair never let go of my hand. I was blushing like mad from the contact. The G-Demon probably thought nothing of it, but me, it felt nice. Nice? Walking with Alistair. Imagine if I wasn't injured and we were just going for a normal walk. My mind wandered at the thought and made a big smile come across my face. "No! Stop that! Alistair is bad! He doesn't care for me. Even if I did like him, he would never give my feelings back in return." Soon we arrived at the hotel, and Alistair opened the door for me, and I slowly walked in. Charlie was in the lobby, and when she looked at my state, she gasped. "Heart!" she exclaimed and ran up to me. "Are you all right? What happened?" she asked in a worry. "I'm fine, Charlie." I put my clean hand on her shoulder. "I got attacked by a mugger on the way back. I was heading to the store and to get the things you wanted, but I didn't get there. I sighed. He managed to break my wing, though, and left a small scratch on my face, plus some on my chest. I then smiled and looked over at Alistair. If it wasn't for Alistair, I think I would have walked away with more than just a broken wing and scratches. Charlie looked over to the powerful demon. No wonder you ran out of here so fast. You knew she was in trouble. Well done, Al. I'm proud of you. Charlie's words seemed to trigger in my mind. Alistair ran out of the hotel? To save me? Why? How did he even know in the first place? It was a pleasure, my dear Belle. He bowed slightly. I couldn't have a brute like him hurt her any further. It would have been ungentlemanlike. Alistair stood up straight and pulled out her money. This is yours. Managed to get it back from the fool. It seemed your shopping will have to wait. Charlie took the money. No worries. I'm glad you got it back. And I'm glad you got Hideout in time. I'll probably just have Aggie go out later and get the stuff. Alistair nodded and looked down at me. Now, darling, let's get you mended up. He took my hand again and led me up the steps. I smiled at Charlie as we walked by. He led me down the hall into my room. I grabbed the key from my pocket and unlocked it. We headed inside. Alistair pulled over the one chair I put by the window and put it in the middle of the room. Please sit, and I'll fix you up in a jiffy, Alistair told me. I wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he walked into the bathroom. I sat down, and Alistair came back out with a first aid kit. He took a bandage and put it on my cheek first. My chest, on the other hand, was a different story. My dear, the state of your garments will most likely have to be removed so I can get to the wounds beneath, Alistair told me. I hesitated. I didn't want to remove my shirt. Not in front of him. I was too scared. Alistair, I think I can take care of those wounds myself. I rubbed my arm in embarrassment. I don't think I'm comfortable with taking my shirt off for you. Alistair took a moment to process what I was saying, but I think he understood. That's fair. I'll leave those to you then. He went back into the first aid kit. Let me just help you with it, though. Just let me know. He then took some splints and went behind me, most likely to fix up my left wing. Can you lift your wing up at all? Alistair asked. I tried to do as he asked, but unfortunately my wing still drooped. Oh my, well this won't do! He made a tisk-tisk sound. I'm sorry, my dear, but I'm going to have to position your wing properly so it can heal correctly. I nodded. Do what you have to. Alistair grabbed my wing and started to pull it up. I let out a hiss of pain, but tried not to scream. Alistair took the splints and put them on each side of my wing and took a lot of medical tape and taped the splints to me. When he was done, I looked at his work. I couldn't bend my wing at all. I'd probably have to stick it out for a few days. There you are, my dear. Good as new, Alistair said as he had a big smile. Now tell me, does anything else hurt? Did you injure yourself elsewhere? I shook my head. Well then, let me put this away. Alistair reached for the first aid kit and took it back into the bathroom. I was silent. Alistair was being so nice to me. I didn't understand why. I had my thoughts going a mile a minute trying to figure it all out. At the end, I just decided to ask. Alistair, can I ask you something? I asked as I brought my tail to my lap and started to play with it. The demon walked out of the bathroom and stood in front of me. Of course, darling. How can I be of service? I fisted the fur of my tail. Why did you save me? I finally got out. Alistair said nothing at first. He just stood there and gave a small radio-sounding laugh. He walked forward till he was almost on top of me. He then got down to one knee so he could look at me face to face. I didn't want to see you get yourself hurt. I wanted to protect you, he finally said. Well, then, how did you know I was in trouble? I asked. I heard you scream, Alistair admitted. I felt your pain. He felt it? How? I asked him. I marked you, Alistair answered. The one night you were asleep. So, like a tracker? I tried to make the connection. In a way, yes, but magically and probably more powerful, he explained. But why? I looked away from him. Why me? Alistair smiled. Unfortunately, that's a question I'll have to answer at a different time. He grabbed my chin softly so I could look at him. Can I at least get one more smile before I leave? It fits you so much more. How could I say no to that? Say no to that sweet smile he gave me. I did smile. Not because he asked me to, but because that made me feel happy, and his comment made my heart flutter. That's better! Alistair let go of my chin and stood up. He smiled bigger after that. Again, if you need help with those chest wounds, just let me know. I won't be far away. He headed out the door and closed it behind him. My heart wouldn't stop. It was beating so fast. Why did he do this to me? Although it made me think, did he care? I never thought of a demon like Alistair would care for anyone more than himself. It was almost weird. End of chapter 3. The events of this chapter will be continued into the next.